All right, and welcome to. I've finally gotten around to it. I've been doing terribly with this project. But we are in week 5, and the topic is the Abrahamic Covenant. And I thought it'd be nice to go over where the Abrahamic Covenant comes from. And it starts with the book of Abraham, and we are going to cover Abraham in the Bible as well. But this comes from the Pearl of Great Price, and it's Abraham while he's still in the Ur of Chaldees. And it says the book of Abraham, translated from the papyrus by Joseph Smith, a translation from some ancient records that have fallen into our hands from the catacombs of Egypt, the writings of Abraham while he was in Egypt, called the Book of Abraham, written by his own hand upon papyrus. And this is very significant because what we have in Scripture is the 5 books of Moses, which is essentially a revelation from the Lord to Moses at that time, encapsulating what's called the Pentateuch, the 5 books, as you can surmise how that etymology came to being. But we continue with chapter 1. In the land of the Chaldeans, at the residence of my fathers, I, Abraham, saw that it was needful for me to obtain another place of residence. Translation, I'm on an altar about to be sacrificed by my father, and I need to move. He continues, and finding there was greater happiness and peace and rest for me, I sought for the blessings of the fathers, and the right whereunto I should be ordained to administer the same, having been myself a follower of righteousness, pardon me, desiring also to be one who possessed great knowledge, and to be a greater follower of righteousness, and to possess a greater knowledge, and to be a father of many nations, a prince of peace, and desiring to receive instructions, and to keep the commandments of God, I became a rightful heir, a high priest, holding the right belonging to the fathers. He desired to be a dad. It is one of the primary motivations of how this covenant came into being. And it's also interesting because it says desiring that he would be one to possess great knowledge. Father Abraham was a fantastic individual. When Isaac, his son, dies to take over his property and his inheritance, Isaac did not count sheep. That was not the wealth of his prosperity. He went to count the wells his father had digged in the desert, meaning Abraham had a monopoly on water in the desert. And that's how we learn of the nature of Abraham's wealth and his ingenuity. He was a well digger. A well digger. And that is... And what's interesting with Isaac's story is they find that the wells have been covered up. They'd been kicked in, they'd been destroyed. And the princes of Ishmael, the other people of the region, decided, hey, we did this because you're not your dad. And Isaac's like, you think Dad didn't teach me how to dig wells? So not only am I going to redig these wells like I know how to do, I'm going to charge you double. And that's kind of where Isaac takes over the reins of his father's inheritance. But we haven't gotten to that point. Verse 3, it was conferred upon me from the fathers, it came down from the fathers, from the beginning of time, yea, even from the beginning, or before the foundation of the earth, down to the present time, even the right of the firstborn, or the first man, who is Adam, or first father, through the fathers unto me. He went directly back to the source. He went back to the first fathers to discover this power, this secret, this royal lineage that we're going to be exploring. I sought for mine appointment unto the priesthood according to the appointment of God unto the fathers concerning the seed. My fathers, having turned from their righteousness, and from the holy commandments which the Lord their God had given unto them, unto the worshipping of the gods of the heathen, utterly refused to hearken to my voice. In other words, I am the last of a forgotten tradition and a forgotten faith. I am the only one remembering and trying to reestablish goodness in my world. Well, what a powerful man. For their hearts were set to do evil, and were wholly turned to the god of Elkanah, and the god of Libnah, and the god of Mamakra, and the god of Korash, and the god of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Now, this is interesting because I think I'll find in the description an interview done with Dr. John D. or Gee, not D, Gee, G-E-E, who helped, I'll put a link to that in the description of this video to help substantiate these claims, because what we're going to learn is that some of the claims that Abraham is making here were not what you would say archaeologically founded, or there was no evidence for these claims or this perspective on Egyptian worship in the Ur of Chaldees. We didn't even know where that was precisely when this revelation was given or found. But continuing on, therefore they turned their hearts to the sacrifice of the heathen in offering up their children unto these dumb idols, and hearkened not unto my voice, but endeavored to take away my life by the hand of the priest of Elkanah. The priest of Elkanah was also the priest of Pharaoh. And this is one of the controversial takes. It was not known, and it was not accepted when this revelation was given in the 1800s and up until very, very recently in the 2000s, that the Egyptians participated in human sacrifice. That was not a known ideal. It wasn't something that was taught. It wasn't something that was observed or something that was learned. It was not known that the Egyptians practiced human sacrifice in this manner. But we're going to link to that interview in the description of this video, and you will be able to discover several things for yourself from a more scientific standpoint. Now, at this time, it was the custom of the priest of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to offer up upon the altar that which was in the land of Chaldea, for the offering unto these strange gods, men, women, and children. This is also reminiscent of the scriptural account of the god of Moloch, the sacrificing of children for the rains, the seasonal rain that may or may not come. And it came to pass that the priest made an offering unto the god of Pharaoh, and also unto the god of Shagril, even after the manner of the Egyptians. Again, it was not known that the Egyptians had such a manner at this time. Now the god of Shagril was the sun. Interesting that he would add that little tidbit. Even the thank offering of a child did the priest of Pharaoh offer upon the altar which stood by the hill called Potiphar's Hill, at the head of the plain of Alishem. Now, and this is incredibly detailed. This is incredibly detailed for someone who was allegedly not there, or might have not even occurred. Now this priest had offered upon this altar 3 virgins at one time, who were the daughters of Onitah, one of the royal descent directly from the loins of Ham. These virgins were offered up because of their virtue. They would not bow down to worship gods of wood or of stone. Therefore they were killed upon this altar, and it was done after the manner of the Egyptians. Now this is awful, because what we're going to learn is that the daughters of Onitah, the one of the royal descent directly from the loins of Ham, we're going to learn that in Egyptian history, Ham was the father who was cursed by Noah to not hold the priesthood. He was withheld from the patriarchal line. And it was Ham whose descendants colonized or cultivated the land of Egypt. And they called the king of Egypt Pharaoh because that was the name of the first Egyptian king. His name was Pharaoh. And Pharaoh, like his father Ham, knew of the covenants and the rituals of God, of Adam, of Noah, of Seth, of Enoch, of all the patriarchs. And Pharaoh instituted a unofficial priesthood that bore the extreme likeness of the patriarchs, of the official authorized line given from Noah to his sons Japheth, and I forget the name of the other one's name. There was Ham, there was Japheth, and the other one who you're supposed to remember that one's name, but suffice to say, this official line broke off, and Ham was not part of the official line. However, Pharaoh was such a righteously inclined individual, the Lord permitted his fake priesthood because his desire was to maintain his family's history. His desire was to enforce righteousness in his nation. And what we're learning in verse 11 is that Egypt had become so apostate that they had sacrificed 3 virtuous virgins on that altar, daughters of Anitah, of royal descent from the loins of Ham, because these virgins remembered who they were and what they stood for. And because they would not acknowledge a priesthood or an authority that was not at least reminiscent of the ideals of the first Pharaoh of Egypt, they were sacrificed. Verse 12, and it came to pass that the priests laid violence upon me, that they might slay me also, and as they did those virgins upon this altar, as they did those virgins upon this altar, and that you may have a knowledge of this altar, I will refer you to the representation in the commencement of this record. It was made after the form of a bedstead, such as was had among the Chaldeans, and it stood before the gods of Elkanah, Libnah, Mamakra, Korash, and also a god like unto that of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. That you might have an understanding of these gods, I have given you a fashion of them in the figures at the beginning. There are facsimiles in this images attached to these scrolls, to these scriptures. And we might be able to go over them, we might not. Which manner of figurines is called by the Chaldeans Ralinos, which signifies hieroglyphics. And as they lifted up their hands upon me, that they might offer me up and take away my life, behold, I lifted up my voice unto the Lord my God, and the Lord hearkened and heard, and he filled me with the vision of the Almighty. And the angel of his presence stood by me, and immediately unloosed my bands. And his voice was unto me, Abraham, Abraham. Behold, my name is Jehovah, and I have heard thee, and have come down to deliver thee, and to take thee away from thy father's house, and from all thy kinsfolk, into a strange land which thou knowest not of. And this because they have turned their hearts away from me, to worship the god of Elkanah, the god of Libnah, and the god of Makara, and the god of Korash, and the god of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Therefore I have come down to visit them, and to destroy him who hath lifted up his hand against thee, Abraham, my son, to take away thy life. Behold, I will lead thee by the hand, and I will take thee, to put upon thee my name, even the priesthood of thy father, and my power shall be over thee. As it was with Noah, so shall it be with thee, but through thy ministry my name shall be known in the earth forever, for I am thy God. Behold, Potiphar's hill was in the land of Ur of Chaldea. And the Lord broke down the altar of Elkanah and of the gods of the land, and utterly destroyed them, and smote the priest that he died. And there was great mourning in Chaldea, and also in the court of Pharaoh, which Pharaoh signifies king by royal blood. Now this king of Egypt was a descendant of the loins of Ham, and was a partaker of the blood of the Canaanites by birth. From this descent sprang all the Egyptians, and thus the blood of the Canaanites was preserved in the land. The land of Egypt was first discovered by a woman who was the daughter of Ham and the daughter of Egyptus, which in the Chaldean signifies Egypt, which signifies that which is forbidden. I'm going to let your imagination run wild with that one. When this woman discovered the land, it was under water, who afterwards settled her sons in it, and thus from Ham sprang that race which preserved the curse in the land. Now the first government of Egypt was established by Pharaoh, the eldest son of Egyptus, the daughter of Ham. And it was after the government of Ham, which was patriarchal. Pharaoh, being a righteous man, established his kingdom and judged his people wisely and justly all his days, seeking earnestly to imitate that order established by the fathers in the first generations, in the days of the first patriarchal reign, even in the reign of Adam and also of Noah, his father, who blessed him with the blessings of the earth and with the blessings of wisdom, but cursed him as pertaining to the priesthood. Now Pharaoh, being of that lineage by which he could not have right of the priesthood, notwithstanding the Pharaohs would fain claim it from Noah, through Ham, therefore my father was led away by their idolatry. But I shall endeavor hereafter to delineate the chronology running back from myself to the beginning of the creation, for the records have come into my hands, which I hold unto this present time. Now, after the priest of Elkanah was smitten that he died, in other words, an angel came down and beat his ass, and my father was sorely tormented. No, hang on. I went ahead. Now, after the priest of Elkanah was smitten that he died, there came a fulfillment of those things which are said concerning me, unto me concerning the land of Chaldea, that there should be a famine in the land. Accordingly, a famine prevailed throughout all the land of Chaldea, and my father was sorely tormented because of the famine, and he repented of the evil which he had determined against me, to take away my life. But the records of the fathers, even the patriarchs, concerning the right of the priesthood, the Lord my God preserved in mine own hands. Therefore a knowledge of the beginning of the creation, and also of the planets and of the stars, as they were made known unto the fathers, I have kept even unto this day, and I shall endeavor to write some of these things upon this record, for the benefit of my posterity which shall come after me. And that is chapter 1. And chapter 2, because the study was going to go into chapter 2 anyway, but I think we have a good chunk here. It's a lot to digest. So we're just going to leave it there. And this is going to be the introduction to the Abrahamic Covenant. We're going to talk more about Abraham and what he's going to do here. So I'll see y'all later, and I hope we see some discussion in the comments. See y'all in a bit. Bye-bye.